Okay. I want to start with some good news. Last night we had our first annual award ceremony hosted by the City's Office of Business Opportunity and the Business Opportunity Advisory Board to honor City of Houston prime contractors and certified MWBE and small business enterprises that work on city contracts. And I want to first call out a city department. It's not a department with a big spin, but the City of Houston's Department of Neighborhoods awarded more than 70% of its contracts to certified MWBE and small business enterprises. And we created the first City of Houston Champion of Diversity Award. It's been 29 years of the City of Houston having a formal program to try to build capacity in our minority and women-owned business community. So 30 years ago, the person who spearheaded that was the late City Council member Ernest McGowan Sr. I gave him posthumously the Champion of Diversity Award accepted by his wife Joel McGowan, but we also named the Champion of Diversity Award in honor of Councilmember McGowan. And we look forward to future recipients stepping up and competing to show their support for our MWBE and small business community. In addition, Capital One Bank was named Community Partner of the Year for its role in creating and partnering with the city on various initiatives designed to educate and grow small businesses. And in fact, next week, we're going to have the conclusion of our business plan competition, which was funded by Capital One Bank. Other named award recipients were Industrial Tex Corporation, T Construction LLC, Lockwood Andrews and Newnham Incorporated, United Engineers Incorporated, Comfort Systems USA, South Central, and Milam Street Auto Storage Incorporated. And so again, I think the prime contractors and subcontractors who are making our MWBE and small business program work, and call out Mayor's Office for Business Opportunity, which became the Department of Business Opportunity, for doing such an outstanding job. But it was a brisk council meeting today, a very good and a positive discussion on payday lending. I absolutely believe we'll have our ordinance passed by the end of December. It was interesting the number of council members concerned about consumer education and awareness and really behavior modification among consumers. There are any number of community-based organizations that are engaged in that kind of financial literacy training, financial literacy support. So I look forward to providing that information to council members. There is a good network out there. We don't need to do it. There are plenty of organizations that do it. However, if consumers were inclined to go that route, there are resources there today. And so I don't know that there's a way that we as a city can fundamentally change the way people assess risk and how they are willing to make short-term decisions that in the long run can severely impact so many things, not just their financial health, but also their physical health. And so it'll be an interesting challenge and an interesting debate, but I feel very positive after the conversation today. Significant minority of council clearly supports the ordinance, and I think only perhaps 2 council members who expressed absolute opposition, and most council members are ready to come on board, and so we look forward to working with them. Mike, do you have some questions?
You acknowledged before the meeting that this model is unlikely to pass at the legislature. So given that, why is it important for the cities to have consistency, knowing that this is unlikely in this form to pass at the legislature?
Well, I said it didn't happen in the last legislative session. It was council members actually several council members who expressed that it was unlikely to happen in the next legislature. I'm an optimist. I believe that there will be rulemaking at the federal level, and that increasing pressure on the state of Texas will force the state to do something by linking arms with the other big cities across Texas, and clearly with the city of Houston. When you have Houston, the largest city, San Antonio, the second largest city, Dallas, the third largest city, you throw in El Paso, Austin, you quickly get to a majority of the population of the state of Texas, and it's a clear message that if the legislature doesn't do what it should have done, we're going to continue as city by city to roll across the state, and they'll lose their ability to influence this decision.
Question?
Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you were saying the goal isn't to put people out of business. It's not even to drive them out of the city. But what if that were to happen? What is the recourse for folks who do use these businesses?
There is no circumstance in which, even with the most draconian payday lending ordinances, and most states have statewide payday lending ordinances, where they've gone out of business or completely left the state. And it's clear that with the very same ordinance, Dallas and San Antonio have had different results. So I don't know what the different circumstances are in those two cities that have caused some of the change. I believe, and clearly the majority of council members believe, that there is a need for this industry, and it has proliferated because it fills a need. But while I'm a big supporter of the market, and I lead Houston, which is a business-focused city, and everybody talks about how Houston is unzoned and where business rules. We all understand that there have to be limits imposed, because what starts out as a necessary function, a good idea, people get greedy and they take it to the extreme. Payday lending, there's nothing wrong with payday lending. There's nothing evil or inappropriate about payday lending. Payday lending, in the way it is practiced by many of the businesses, take it to a predatory level, and that's what we want to cut off. We want to box it in a little bit. They're still going to be able to make not just good profits, but huge profits. But we hope we can put some consumer protections in that will allow individual borrowers not to ruin their lives by getting into the system.
You mentioned the difference between the outcome in Dallas and San Antonio. Is it any concern that they would, like not leave the state, but leave the city, just go to the county, go to Albany?
I don't have that concern now. One of the things that's clearly happening, and this is affecting the industry nationwide, is more and more internet access, and so that is going to be something that happens. But when you don't have I think for a lot of these consumers, they don't have internet access at home. They don't have a banking relationship. They don't have the ability to draw. They don't have credit. They don't have the ability to draw something down from an internet portal. It makes it less likely that that's going to suck away a huge amount of business. I think that the market will reallocate. You'll still see these businesses. You may not see quite so many of them. And in fact, something that the other cities do that we don't have the ability to do, they space them because of their zoning. I know some cities, not in Texas, but I know some other cities that have very stringent spacing requirements. The industry still finds a way to operate.
Question?
Can we talk about the consumer, the black and brown consumers that are the majority of the people that use these loans? And there was concern by a number of city councilmen, not just two, that it will negatively impact these consumers and their ability to get small or micro loans. And Councilman Christie suggested that you put together a Blue Ribbon Committee of banks that will maybe help, like Bill White did, in getting these individuals to be able to go into a bank and be able to get a small micro loan, so they don't have to go through these organizations that may be predatory.
Actually, I'm not aware that Mayor White did that, but as a city controller, I launched the Bank on Houston program, which current controller is carrying forward. And in doing that, I brought together most of the major banks in Houston. We talked about their services. We came up with a platform of trying to bring the unbanked, because this is not just about predatory lending. The fundamental aspect of this is a cash economy, people without a banking relationship, people without any form of credit. There's a very active program through many of the nonprofit organizations and the banks. Every one of the major banks has free consumer financial literacy programs. They'll take it to civic clubs and churches and anybody who wants to learn. There are robust programs that are available to schools out there for free to provide financial literacy. And many of the banks, and through the Bank on Houston program, and in fact I think you can still access that, just type in Bank on Houston on your computer. Many of the banks offer starter bank accounts with either interest-free checking or other support services around that to get people started. The resources are there. Consumers have to take advantage of the resources.
Well, a lot of the consumers that I know that use the Payday loan organizations, they don't have an understanding that these organizations exist. They even go to their church to try to get a loan for just $200 or $300 to pay their rent before they get foreclosed on or either get evicted. And actually, a lot of times the churches will not give them the money, and so they have to go that route.
We want payday lenders to continue to operate. I don't think any council member, certainly not I, want to put them out of business. There's a place for these kinds of microloans. Now, a number of churches do operate benevolent funds for their parishioners or members that provide this kind of services. Some of the churches that are supporting this ordinance, but it is the industry themselves that have created this myth that we're trying to put them out of business. This ordinance allows them to make very aggressive profits. It just does not allow them to keep people trapped in a cycle in perpetuity. And it is designed to lower the number of automobile foreclosures, because, and frankly, these lenders, they want the people taking out the loans and paying the loans. They really don't want to repossess the cars. But what happens when they repossess those cars? It takes away people's ability to get to their work, to support their families in a lot of cases, and so there's a ripple effect when that happens. So we're trying to bring it closer toward the center, have a healthy, robust industry, but cut off some of the excesses. And you tried to ask.
Yeah, basically it was related to this whole idea of consumer education. Has there been any discussion with HISD or the colleges on making financial literacy a required part of the curriculum? I mean, we talk about so many people graduating and never doing a budget.
That's an excellent suggestion. If I could put one thing back, people talk about, oh, we want to put art back in high schools. I'd make a financial literacy class mandatory. However, that's something they would have to have at the state level, and as they cut back and cut back and cut back on those what are considered extras or extracurricular classes, it makes it much harder to do that. So, I do think it's very important that if we want to make a difference long term, we capture our high school kids, because as soon as they get close to, actually, even before they turn 18, they start getting credit card applications, and the window to to keep our kids, get them financially literate. If we don't do it as parents, where is it?
Yeah.
And you know, the easy credit, the credit card troubles, that's a completely separate area than payday lending, but that is a concern. So the best place we could make a difference is if we mandated financial literacy exposure to our high school kids.
Question on